What the Pel is up, everybody? This is Pelicans Plus with Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter. This is our first game recap of the season. Tough loss for the Pels tonight as they open up their season at home in the blender against the 76ers and took a tough loss, a blowout loss, unfortunately. So things didn't quite go the Pelicans' way. But before we start wrapping up the game, I got to tell you about our newest sponsor, DraftKings. Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PLUS, PLUS. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PLUS, PLUS this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're in Louisiana, you can still download the app and play for prizes. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and one wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling a problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, folks, again, a tough loss tonight for the Pels, and we're getting those comments right away. Jesse Marino adding in Sato and Temple shouldn't get a minute, and a lot of people probably feel that way right now. Temple, I mean, they weren't awful, they just really didn't contribute much. That's what you're getting. Neither of these guys really were terrible in my mind's eye. I'm gonna look at the box score in a moment here. But before we do that, also make sure that you subscribe, follow wherever you're at. Depends on where you're listening to this podcast, and you leave that rate and review on Apple Podcasts as well. So before we really get into anything that's really, really deep about tonight's game or talk any negatives at all, there are a couple things that I want to talk about because tonight's a positive for me. Like, obviously, you don't want to get blown out in the first game of the season. You don't want to lose, especially, in that fashion to a team that's having those internal issues like the Sixers are in Ben Simmons and everything like that. I'm not worried about this team. Lala from BKM, one of our awesome people at BKM who contributes a lot for our thumbnails on YouTube, especially. She said they look good though, and I agree. I like this team. I like this team a lot. And I'll start off by saying, remember when the national media gave the Pelicans a hard time because of their off season? Like, let's just start there, because Jonas struggled tonight. He also looked really good in spots in ways that the team last year would have really benefited from, and this year will benefit from. We saw him make a three, his first three attempted as a Pelican. He freaking drained it. And that's what this team needs, especially with Zion. I mean, just look at the fact that, Steven Adams was on this team last year, and what Jonas can do that Steven Adams couldn't do. Jonas was really struggling in terms of just getting the ball in the basket. Was really struggling tonight. That's not going to be every night. It's just not. It's just not. I mean, what we've seen from him in this little blip of being with the Pels, he's going to provide what they need. And especially now that Zion's going to be out for a little while, he's not going to be facing off with Joel Embiid every night. He's not. There's no reason to be negative right now. You didn't want to get blown out in your home opener. You did. That sucks. You got a lot of new pieces. You got a lot of new players. You got a new coaching staff, largely, at least at the very top of it. I'm fine. Like, obviously, you want it to go a different way, but things are going to be okay. I promise. And let's start with JV and with Devonte. Let's look at that first. Jonas Valanciunas was having trouble getting the ball in the hole tonight. That's for sure. We're going to look at the box score right now. At 3 of 19, 1 of 3 from 3. That's not going to happen every night. It's just not. 3 of 19 is awful. And he still wasn't bad. And he was 2 for 2 from 3, which you can't guarantee from a lot of big guys in the league. I mean, the guy shot, the Pels shot 41.9% from the field tonight, and you want that to be a little bit better, but they also shot 43% from three and only 67% from the free throw line. While, yeah, there's a discrepancy for you. Free throw attempts, the Pels shot 6 of 9 tonight, whereas the 76ers shot 16 of 20. So not only did they shoot 80% as opposed to 66%, they also shot double the amount of free throws, and they made 52% of their threes, and they shot 51.8% from the field. So this is a discrepancy in shot percentages. Certainly, that's a big part of it. And I'm sorry, I have to share this. This is a great thing from Dat Simple 1211. You said Ross from Friends, LOL. I'm fine. I like that. Thank you, sir. That was a good comment. I like that. But to continue, these guys are more or less exactly what the Pelicans needed in Devonte and Jonas Valanciunas. We talked about what these guys are and what they'll bring, and we finally got to see it tonight. Devonte wasn't phenomenal. He didn't light up the box score, but he went 4 of 6 from 3, and that's pretty damn good. He had 18 points, 6 of 9 from the field, and 2 of 3 from the free throw line. Obviously, he missed that foul shot. He also had 5 assists, which you can't complain about. And BI also added 6 assists too, which that's not something we've seen a lot from him over these last few years. But the thing that really stood out to me is that Devonte looked a hell of a lot more comfortable tonight than he did during the preseason. And he was much more willing to launch shots, which I love. Devonte being confident and willing to launch shots like that is a major, major, major positive. Major positive. When Zion's back and Devontae's hitting shots like that, this team is going to pile up wins. They just are. And especially if and when Jonas starts, making those bunnies, it's over, man. It's over. Now, the question that we're going to get to in a little bit, I'm going to talk positives, but this is a great question from Jesse Marino. What's going on with the bench? Excellent question. We'll talk about that momentarily. And but first, I want to continue with some of these positives that we can walk away from tonight with. On top of the fact that JV struggled and it was just a lot of, he missed bunnies and stuff like that. He was also matched up with the second best center in the league, if not, arguably the first best center. Depends on how you view things with Embiid and Jokic. JV's not going to have to defend a top 10, top 15 player every single night. He's just not. There's 2 centers in the league that are really, that guy. And we saw one of them tonight. The Pelicans faced off with one of them tonight, and the other one plays in Denver. And so this is a thing where JV had to expend a lot of energy in a lot of ways. And this is a new team, and he was frustrated. And this is just, I'm just not worried about the offense or JV making those shots and just being gassed, because you could tell tonight. Well, a couple times when he ran back out on the floor, he was just like, at least that's what I thought. I could be wrong. People could interpret that differently. I honestly probably would have liked to see Billy Hernangomez a little bit tonight, and that's just to throw another body at Joel Embiid, get somebody else and irritate him a little bit, throw their body into him a little bit, because Billy will do what you need him to do. And if you say, just go piss him off, foul him a couple times, then he can do that. But you don't want to have to rely on Billy Hernangomez necessarily. So I'm not surprised that he didn't get minutes. Couple other things that were very clear to me that were positives tonight is BI came out, and that guy was a leader, man. I could tell in his aura from the get-go of tonight's game. It sounds weird, especially considering I wasn't at the game. But when I looked at BI tonight on the court, I could tell he had this mindset of, this is my team. Like especially with Zion out, this is my team now. And he had every right to be as confident as he was. And he shot 26 shots tonight. I'm A-okay with that. AD said that as well. Only 3 shots from deep. Some other guys made up for the amount of attempts in terms of putting up quite a few, but Nikhil Alexander, 4 of 8. Nobody shot more than 8. And then the next closest was Devonte Graham with 6, and they both made 4. Na looked freaking awesome in the first half. And that's a big positive takeaway for me as well. I love the way he was willing to put up shots tonight, especially early. And it just wasn't falling for him in the second half, which, that happens. And I just like it to be more consistent. And we'll talk about that as well in a moment here. But not in the first half was freaking awesome. He was. He's I put it on Twitter as well. When Na is confident, he is dangerous. Confident Na is dangerous Na. And that is something that can be really, really helpful for the Pelicans this year. They got 4 guys minus, without Zion that can score. BI, JV, Devonte, Na. That's great. You roll with that. You figure it out. And as long as Na can do it more consistently, feel more comfortable in the second half as opposed to just the first half, I like it. I like it a lot. And to add to what I was saying earlier, JV won't shoot 15% this season, and a game like this isn't the first game. Excuse me. Like this in the first game will help us figure out the bench. Great point from Dat Simple 1211. I don't know if that's a person from BKM Network. I can't tell when you got a name like that. Sorry, buddy. But anyway, BI being a clear leader, controlling the basketball when he should. The other thing is the team is bought in, man. The team is bought in. They made effort plays tonight. No, it didn't go their way. Yeah, the defense was clunky, and they still have a lot to figure out in terms of communication, in terms of how to go about the defense. Knowing your personnel, they have a lot. I mean, and AD says that almost every game is what it seems like. Freaking Korkmaz went off tonight. Dude was unconscious. You don't have to worry about that every single game. You just don't. Like it was freaking crazy, or Furkan crazy, whatever you want to call it. But this is not the regular night you're gonna see every night. There's the possibility somebody's gonna go off every night. Every night there is. But whether or not it's Furkan Korkmaz is one thing. Ultimately, where I'm at with the defense is there's a lot of guys on this squad that can play really good defense, namely Najee, Trey, Herb Jones, Josh Hart, assuming he comes back healthy, and I am nervous. So that's where I'm at with the defense. Willie Green's going to figure it out, man. It's just that simple. Willie Green's going to figure it out. I'm not too worried about anything. I'm not freaking out about anything at all. I am bought in like the players are bought in. So that's how I'm feeling about that. Other thing is Jackson Hayes could not get a lob tonight, man. He just could not do it. Ripped his jersey, went full Superman on us on his way to the sideline tonight. And that's, and that's something that I'm fine with too. Obviously, you want to see Jackson get those lobs because that's a big part of what he brings to the team. I'd love to see him shoot more and even go 5 wide with Jackson on the floor. Willie's probably waiting to do that until Jackson has firmly placed himself at a position where he can shoot threes on a regular basis. That's where I'm at with that. And Andre Drummond, they're not going to play a team with 2 really big, efficient guys defensively every night. They're just not in Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond was reading those lobs all night, and Jackson just could not get it. That's why he ripped his jersey, just frustrated. And rightfully so. This is the first game of the year. You're getting blown out at home, and you're getting the one thing you're really good at taken away. So that was something that was understandable in terms of frustration from Jackson Hayes. So that's where I'm at with that. A little bit of some stuff that the Pels can work on in all of that optimism. But I mean, I'm going to put it very simply is I am not worried. I'm just not. I'm optimistic. This team doesn't have Zion. It's a completely different roster as opposed to last season. The Sixers have a ton of continuity despite having the individual named Ben Simmons back in Philadelphia on their roster. JV will figure it out. People were freaking out on Twitter, obviously, because it's Twitter and that's what you're going to find there. But you won't get that from me right now. You won't get that from me. I'm A-okay with everything going on. And, where I'm at with going forward is there's places to improve. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But nothing to be freaking out about. We'll just leave it at that. So things to work on for the Pels going forward. Bench versus bench, man. I don't have the statistic directly in front of me, but at one point in time, Joel Myers said that the Pelicans bench was getting outscored 30-5. And it's just not going to win you basketball games. It's just not. So the Pels have to get drastically better in that part of the game. And we've talked about how deep they are. Obviously not having Josh Hart, obviously not having Zion hurts. But there has to be more contribution from the bench. There just does. Like, it's that simple. Trey Murphy came off the bench tonight. He's got to be more than what he was tonight. I think he had some nerves. It's first NBA start. I mean, not start. First NBA game, like actual NBA game. And these other ones haven't mattered. And we know what happens when the Pelicans play and games don't matter is what Trey Murphy did this preseason and during the summer league. And you could just tell the nerves were there, and that's fine. First NBA game. So ultimately in garbage time, he did make a couple shots, got into a little bit of a groove of things. And so I liked what we saw from him at the end there. That's not anything to be worried about. I just want to see him make some shots, right? That's all you want. So in terms of that, that's a big thing. Najee Marshall didn't play until halfway through the second quarter. That's where I'm at. That's one thing that really confused me. I would have rather had Najee start than Josh Hart. I think it's pretty simple. And even so that makes me, it's just weird. I don't know. It's just weird to see Najee not start. One, Garrett Temple and Sato get in before him. 2-3. And I think Kyra got in before he did too. And granted, he and Kyra play different positions, but I would have much rather seen Najee start than Josh Hart. I mean, we saw Najee start last year. He's a defensive stalwart. He's long. I would have rather had him in there at the 3 spot with Nikhil and Devonte in the backcourt to get the offense going, and then see Najee out there for defensive purposes. And he ultimately did come out there. He did play a bit of an irritant role, but the team needs him to set the defensive tone, in my opinion, to start the game. Obviously, you're going to look more towards BI. You're going to look more towards Zion to start the overall defensive tone for the team. But Najee's a big part of what the remainder of the roster does. He doesn't have to do a ton offensively. As long as he's, getting deflections, playing the irritant, then you love to see what you can from him. I did not like the fact that he did not come in until the second quarter. Did not like that at all. That's got to change for sure. The other thing, what Fee had to say, because Fee is very much into these streams. I appreciate you, man. Fee hopping in saying Herb checking in was the highlight for me. He should have been put in against 76ers second unit. And I agree. I was saying, I think I tweeted this part of the way through the game, is we didn't see Herb Jones at all until the final 3 minutes. And I would have loved to see him just in there a little bit, especially with Josh Hart being hurt. I was a little bit confused by that. I'd rather see Herb with this group of guys early with no Zion, with Josh Hart out now, as opposed to trying to figure it out as the season progresses. And I mean, that's fine too. It's fine. I just want to, I think the entire fan base wants to see Herb Jones play. If we're being real, like I love Herb Jones. I want to see what he can bring defensively. There are moments in the game where they really could have used his spark. And, he's not going to contribute a ton offensively right away, but They really could have used his spark in the second unit in terms of defense and just being willing to just get out and run. Just get out and run. I love Herb Jones for a lot of reasons, and I would have much rather seen him play tonight. Hopefully he'll play Friday. Hopefully we'll see more of him Friday. Hopefully we'll see Najee more Friday as opposed to what we saw tonight. I'm wondering if Trey Murphy will get the start on Friday, assuming Josh doesn't play. I don't know what happened with Josh. We'll probably find out either tomorrow or before the game Friday. But Trey Murphy was just uncomfortable. He just wasn't ready to go tonight, and he started the second half. I'm going to assume right now that he would start the first half on Friday as well, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I prefer Najee to start. That's where I'm rolling with that, and I'd honestly like to see something different in terms of Devonte running the second unit as opposed to being in with the first unit. We're probably going to see a very similar starting lineup on Friday, but could change. Who knows? And in terms of other things that can be fixed, that can be changed, I want to see more of the offense taking care of the ball. Turnovers tonight, if I'm remembering correctly, weren't horrible. 13, which you don't love, and 12 for the 76ers, so they're not necessarily forcing a ton of turnovers. Plus minus team wide was pretty bad. The only guy who, would you look at that? The only guy with a double-digit positive plus minus is Najee Marshall, and he played 20 minutes. Man, I want to see a lot more of Najee in these coming games. Sato and Temple played a combined 24 minutes, so it's not like they played a ton. But still, a lot of those minutes that those guys are taking, Najee can have, or Herb can have. I mean, you can only play so many guys, right? It's not like you can play everybody every night, but there are a lot of ways that could be handled differently. I'm very excited to see how much Najee plays on Friday. Nikhil, I want to see more consistent shot making from him. Like I mentioned, that first half was freaking awesome. He was filling it up, and I just want to see more of that in the second half. Going into next game on Friday against the Bulls, I am also hoping that we see a little bit more from Kira Lewis too in terms of shot making, because he had the little floater tonight. Love that, but it wasn't something that was consistent. So consistency from those two. It's looking like Kyra is going to play some significant, maybe not significant minutes, but enough minutes this year, as opposed to being sent to the G League like some people were thinking for a little while, which I like. I'd rather have Kyra get actual minutes than be sent to the G League. So, but it's got to be productive, right? He made 1 3 tonight and had some trouble with the lobs, like I mentioned, to Jackson Hayes. So that's again, not the end of the world. Want to see more, but not the end of the world. Let's see here, and same for Devonte too. Devonte did pretty well, and if he scores 18 a night, freaking sign me up for that. But it's just got to be a level of consistency, preferably, and I'd like to see more open shots for him, and that's dependent on everybody else and attacking the basket and stuff like that. So there's that. Josh Hart, that injury it makes me nervous, and we'll see what happens. It was a non-contact, if I remember correctly, so that does make me a little nervous. And then lastly, KYP, like I said, and like AD always says, is know your personnel. What things are you taking away from this game tonight? We're going to be on for another 5 to 10 minutes. So what are you taking away from tonight's loss for the Pelicans to start the season? Anything that sticks out to you? Anything that you would have wished they would have done differently? Drop it in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, and I'll see if I can respond to stuff on Twitter. We're not getting into our live feed anymore, which is really frustrating. But if you can drop that on YouTube or Facebook, I'll be able to see it right here on my screen. So let me know what you're thinking. That Simple really coming in clutch tonight with the comments. He said, no matter how bad the Sixers won tonight, the Falcons still blew a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. That's great. I love it. I love it, man. That's good stuff. But anyway, also JV signing that extension. You know, I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it because I think Jonas is a much better fit than Steven Adams was. It's tradable. It's cheaper. He's a better player, like all that. And some people were being kind of smart alecky about the whole thing, saying guys will um, sign out of free agency for long-term deals and stuff like that. And yeah, okay, fine. Or they'll draft them without having played a minute with the team. Okay, fine. But it's different, man. This guy just got added to the roster. You don't have to bring him around. You don't have to bring him back. But also, the thing that stuck out to me from tonight's broadcast, I think Jen Hale said it. It was either Jen Hale or Joel said it, was that JV was so impressed with the front office and how things are going in New Orleans. He approached the front office to see if he could sign an extension. I almost didn't know what to do with that. I was like, okay. It took me by surprise. It's like, it's like when the girl makes the first move, it's just like, oh, so that's how it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? But it was cool. I'm really excited about it. I think JV is a really good player. He's a top 10 center in the league. That's for sure. Maybe even top 8, top 7. I won't necessarily say top 5. I'd have to think about it and write it all down. But that's how I feel about the extension. I like it. I love JV. I love what he brings to this team. He is not going to go 3 for 19 every night, let alone probably again. He's not going to shoot 15% from the field. He's just not. And so I love the extension. And if it doesn't work out, he's tradable, man. That contract is super tradable. Other teams would go for that for sure. Now, to wrap it all up, things that I'm really taking away from tonight in terms of positivity and where this team can go going forward. Let's talk about where they can improve first. Just to wrap it all up, just to put a bow on it. Turnovers. Got to minimize the turnovers. It was 13 tonight, which isn't awful. It's not the end of the world. They had 5 in the first quarter. Could have been 20 if they kept up that pace. They didn't. Josh Hart, the injury. We'll see how that goes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker with consistency in terms of making shots. JV flipping things around. Defense. Communication. Switches. All that junk. Positives to take away. BI is the freaking leader of this team. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. This is Brandon Ingram's team. Second, Nickeil had a freaking awesome first half. Freaking awesome. And if he can continue to be that, that's great. You want that from your guy, like what Nickeil is. Devonte filled it up from deep, 4 of 6. What other positives? You're not going to face Joel Embiid every freaking night, and JV won't be gassed from doing that. That'll be a big positive. And there's a lot of room to improve. There's a lot of ways this team can go. They were in it for a big part of it. And then freaking Korkmaz went off. It's just not going to happen every night. The bench will be a point of contention going forward if they just can't get outscored like this every night. They just can't. And again, Dat Simple 1-2-1-1. Just kidding, but for real, this is BI's team. Bench will come around. That's how I'm feeling about it right now as well. I know Jesse Marino, I'm going to give you a shout out one more time for dropping that comment on YouTube asking about the bench. And it's true, man. It was iffy tonight. We've talked about their depth. That's something that I've hammered home a lot. Obviously, like I said, Zion and not having Josh Hart, that hurts. But it's the first game of the season. They got blown out at home. Yeah, you don't want to see that. But it is against a very good basketball team that has a lot of continuity, that had a guy go off, and they have an MVP candidate. Like, let's just take a breath, Pels fans. Let's take a breath, Pels Twitter. Let's look towards the positive. And I know that's kind of my niche. and I kind of follow along the AD train in that, but that is where I'm at right now. It's the first game of the season. We can freak out 30 games in. How's that? just have a little bit of patience, okay? A little bit of patience. That's all we got. And we've been talking about patience for a long time. We have. But have patience for the immediate. Have patience for this season. We can start putting pressure on the franchise, on the front office as things continue to develop this season if it goes negatively. But there's a lot of reasons to believe it could and will go positively. So that's how I feel about that. Before you go, make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PLUS, that's PLUS. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. Free. If they win, you win with promo code PLUS this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. And if you're in Louisiana, you can still download the app and play for prizes. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Before you go, also make sure that you subscribe or follow, depending on where you're listening to this podcast, especially for those of you on YouTube. Subscribe, drop a comment, drop a like. Let us know what you're thinking of the Pels right now. How do you feel about the loss tonight? How do you feel about them going forward? Willie Green, Herb Jones not playing, Zion not being around for now, B.I. being the leader of the team, JV, and his not so fantastic night tonight. Also, check out Hornitos Tequila as well. They're the official tequila of Boot Crew Media and Pelicans. Plus, go follow me on Twitter at Elliot Clough, ELIOTCLOUGH. You can see it right there. And that was the first time I've ever pointed in the correct direction while doing this for a live stream. So be proud of me. You can also, if you're listening elsewhere, you can find us on YouTube, Pelicans Plus. You can search it there, or Facebook, Pelicans Plus as well. Make sure to check out that page. Drop a like there, drop a comment, etc. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. This is going to be a long season. We got a long way to go. Long way to go. Let's stay positive. So once again, folks, make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that code PLUS right down there. And once again, I am Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter, and this was Pelicans Plus.